Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, going to be talking through the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, March the 31st. We do have a massive Friday night slate tonight, 13 games. So it's going to be, kind of a longer video, guys, but I'm still going to try and go quickly through this 13 game slate, give you guys a game by game breakdown, what I do like taking a first look on Thursday night when I'm recording this video. And sorry for no content on Thursday. It was just a 2-game slate Thursday, and it was MLB opening day. So I felt like that was a good day to just kind of take off from NBA. I actually did a little bit of MLB work for Prize Picks for Patreon members. But we're back for Friday, back to talk through this DFS slate. As always, guys, we're going to give a quick breakdown of this slate just before we do get started. Make sure you hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you've never checked out Prize Picks before, Prize Picks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can actually sign up for Prize Picks. You can use my promo code Noah. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. And for those of you that have never heard about Prize Picks, they are a player prop site. Very simple and easy to use. You're just taking more or less on a player's projection. As you can see, I'm still recording this video on Thursday, so we have a lot of Thursday's props up right now at the time I'm making this video, but they do already have some lines posted for Friday's games, some lines up for the Hawks and Nets game, so you can see some of the props they have up for Friday already. If there's anything that stands out to you guys, again, you're just taking more or less on a player's projection. It's as simple as that. Since we do have such a big slate, 13 games, there should be plenty of props to choose from for tonight, and it is Flex Friday as well. So Prize Picks, they'll have their Flex Friday promo. They'll have some sort of promotion on Flex plays. We'll have to see what it is, but yeah, if you guys are not signed up for Prize Picks yet, sign up. Use that promo code Noah when you do get your first deposit matched up to $100. But let's go ahead and talk through this slate for Friday night. Again, guys, 13 games, so I'm going to try and go somewhat quickly, but still give you guys a good game by game breakdown. So we'll start off with the first game of the night, Chicago and Charlotte. There's definitely going to be games that we do spend some more time on. There's going to be some games that we just kind of fly through. For this game, we'll definitely have to spend a little bit of time on this one because with Charlotte right now, they've kind of entered tank mode, and they're really resting a lot of guys right now. No Terry Rozier for this game. Kelly Oubre is questionable. Dennis Smith Jr. is questionable, and Gordon Hayward is doubtful. So we saw last game, all these questionable guys were out. Oubre, Hayward, Smith, and Rozier, they were all out. They went with the starting lineup of P.J. Washington, Nick Richards, Svi Mykhailiuk, Theo Maledon, and Bryce McGowens. Now, the Hornets have said they're going to rotate their centers, so I'm guessing Mark Williams didn't play last game. I'm guessing he'll be back in the starting lineup today, and then Nick Richards will back him up. But they should have a lot of those same starters as last game if all these questionable guys sit. If Dennis Smith Jr. is back, he should be back in the starting lineup over Theo Maledon. If Kelly Oubre is back, he'll probably be in the starting lineup over Bryce McGowens. With this Charlotte team, it's kind of, whoever is in here, I'm kind of interested in. Not necessarily PJ Washington is 8,500. I just can't pay 8,500 for PJ Washington. I know he's had some good games lately, but I'll pass on him at that price tag. But a guy like Kelly Oubre, if he's playing today, he's going to have massive usage here, playing without LaMelo, playing without Terry Rozier, playing without Gordon Hayward, who's doubtful. This is a really good spot for Oubre if he plays. He hasn't played in a week, so I don't know if he'll be in. But if Oubre plays, I do like him quite a bit on this Charlotte team. I think Dennis Smith Jr., if he plays, is going to have a pretty big role. I don't mind him at 6,800. He feels priced about right. I think you do get a little bit more upside from Kelly Oubre, but I don't mind going to Dennis Smith Jr. if he plays. And if all these guys are out again, then we got to look to Theo Maledon. 5,500, he did get priced up a little bit, but Theo Maledon played 38 minutes last game, had 44 Draftkings points. He's historically been a pretty good permanent producer, and obviously right now with this Charlotte team, missing a lot of guys, Theo Maledon's going to have a big role, especially if Dennis Smith Jr. is out again. So if Dennis Smith Jr. is out again, really like Theo Maledon at 5,500. And then I think guys like Bryce McGowens, Svi Mykhailiuk, you're probably only considering those guys if Oubre and Hayward and Smith Jr. are all out. If any of them play, I'm not very interested in really anyone else on Charlotte, I don't think. There's nothing else that stands out here. It's really just Oubre if he plays, and then if all these questionable guys are out, I definitely like Theo Maledon again. He would probably be my favorite play on Charlotte. The centers, Richards and Williams, they're pretty much going to split the center minutes. Mark Williams probably starts. He probably plays 26, 28 minutes. He's fine to go to at 5,800, but definitely not a priority with so many other games today. And then on the other side of this game with Chicago, it's a really good matchup here for Chicago. Charlotte's defense has been better lately, but this is still, I think, a pretty good spot for DeRozan, Levine, and Vooch. Really good spot specifically for Vooch. We've seen the Hornets give up a lot of big games to centers this season. They've been a really good matchup for centers. I think of all the Chicago guys, Vooch is probably my favorite at 8,100. Then I would say probably Levine, then DeRozan, but I don't mind any of these Chicago guys here. I think it's a really good matchup. I wouldn't play them I wouldn't play two of them together, or definitely wouldn't play all of them together, but if you want to play one of these three guys in a lineup, again, I don't hate it. I think my favorite is Vooch just because I like the matchup most for him, but pretty good spot here for DeRozan and Levine as well. Nothing else on Chicago, though, looks that appealing. It's really just the main three guys you're going to be looking to there. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Orlando and Washington. So for Washington today, once again, no Bradley Beal, no Kyle Kuzma. A lot of the guys that have been benefiting without Beal and Kuzma have been priced up to reflect that. Porzingis is 9,500 now. Denny Avdia is 7,100. Even the guys like Monte Morris is up to 5,400. There's really not that much that looks great on the Wizards here. I think if you were going to play anyone from this team, it would be Porzingis or Avdia. But where they're priced at, neither one of them are priorities for me. Not on a 13-game slate. So the Wizards, not a super appealing team to me, at least. And then on the Orlando side, Orlando, I mean, they're pretty much fully healthy right now, so they're not going to be a team that looks super appealing here. But I think it's a decent matchup for Paolo Banchero. I think it's a decent matchup for Wendell Carter Jr. But again, this Orlando team, they have plenty of guys available. They have a 9-10-man rotation they can run. And at this point in the season, end of March, there's going to be a lot of teams that are really shorthanded. There's going to be teams that have to play guys almost 40 minutes because they're running out of bodies. This Orlando team is not really the case right now. They can really spread out the minutes. They have a lot of guys that are available. I don't see too much to like on Orlando here. If you're going to play anyone from this team, it's probably Paolo Banchero as a low-owned GBP play, maybe Wendell Carter Jr. as a low-owned GBP play. We've seen the Wizards give up some big games to centers this season, but I'm really not liking much on Washington here or on Orlando here. So that'll do it for that game. Really not an appealing one. We'll go ahead and move on to the next game, OKC and Indiana. So this one should be good for fantasy purposes for DFS. Two teams that do play really fast. OKC defensively been better, but Indiana's not a good defensive team at all. On the Indiana side, we have Tyrese Halliburton once again out for this game. There's a good chance Tyrese Halliburton might even be shut down for the season. We'll have to see. And then Miles Turner is listed as questionable. Miles Turner's missed their last 3 games. He's been questionable for their last 3 games. If he plays, I think it's a really good matchup for Miles Turner. We've seen centers do really well against OKC this season, and obviously there's kind of more usage available for Turner without Halliburton right now. So if Turner is in, I do like him quite a bit. And then the rest of the Pacers, with Halliburton out, we are seeing a lot of usage for Benedict Mathurin. Mathurin's been playing really big minutes. He's had a really good role, taking a ton of shots. The price tag is caught up to to where it should be now. He's 6,300. But I still think at 6,300, with how much opportunity he's getting right now, Benedict Mathurin still looks like an okay play, in my opinion. I still do have some interest in him. Andrew Nembhard and TJ McConnell, they're going to, for the most part, split the point guard minutes. You definitely will see them play alongside each other a little bit. Nembhard's been the guy that has had the highest minutes floor, whereas McConnell's kind of been kept in the mid-20s. If I was going to play one of the guys, Nembhard or McConnell, I think I'd rather go to Nembhard. Again, McConnell's kind of been kept in the low to mid-20s in minutes, which is really kind of capping his upside. So I'm not super interested in McConnell, but I definitely think Nembhard's playable. Buddy Hield at 6K is fine to go to, but not a priority on this slate. Definitely do question the upside on Buddy Hield. Not a guy that really ever goes out there and just wins you a slate. I think his ceiling is somewhat limited. And then the rest of Indiana, Jordan Nwora has been starting lately. His price tag's up to 5,800 though. I think he's priced about where he should be. But I don't mind going to Nwora. We know he is a guy that can produce when he does get opportunity. And then I want to mention the other bigs from Indiana. If Miles Turner's out, we could definitely look to either one of Jalen Smith or Isaiah Jackson. Last game against Milwaukee that Turner was out, we saw Isaiah Jackson start at center, play 22 minutes. He did have 5 fouls. I think he was in foul trouble. And then we saw Jalen Smith I think he got the other 26 minutes. He only played 20 minutes. But for the most part, we can expect Jackson and Smith to split the center minutes rather evenly. And whoever starts, I think, could maybe play 26, 27, 28 minutes. So whoever starts a center between Smith or Jackson, if Turner is out, I would definitely like for value because obviously, like we just mentioned, it's a really good matchup against an OKC team that has been vulnerable against centers this season. So that's kind of what I'm liking on Indiana for today. And then on OKC, once again, no SGA for OKC. So we can look to guys like Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, who are taking on a really, really big role right now. Giddey's had 2 great games, or one great game without SGA against Charlotte, put up 58 DK points. Last game against Detroit was a little bit disappointing, but Giddey's going to have a big role. He has shown that he can stuff the stat sheet, can do everything when he's on the floor. I think the matchup against Indiana is really good. The price tag at 8,700, definitely not a priority for me, but I still think Giddey is a solid tournament play. I think Jalen Williams is still a solid tournament play. His price tag's caught up to where it should be, but he's been great. The last 2 games without SGA, he's been great. In all the games he's played without SGA this season, minutes have been through the roof as well. He's been stuffing the stat sheet. Usage has been great. So I have no issue with either one of Giddey or Jalen Williams. The rest of OKC, though, I'm not super interested in. Lou Dort is fine to go to, but I think on a 13-game slate, there's probably going to be better plays available. The rest of OKC, I don't love here. Isaiah Joe should continue to start without SGA. He was really good in the game against Charlotte, but then kind of came back down to earth last game against Detroit. Minutes, though, have still been strong for him. He's played 32 and 33 minutes the last 2 games. Price tag at $5,300, again, feels correct. That's not like a glaring value or anything. But Isaiah Joe is still playable. The minutes seem to be pretty secure for him right now without SGA. And the matchup against Indiana, I think, is pretty good. So he's playable, but definitely favorite plays on OKC are for sure, Giddey and J-Dub, I should say. But that'll do it for that game, I think. Let's move on to the next one, Toronto and Philadelphia. So this is one of those games that I don't think we're going to have a ton of interest in. On the Philadelphia side, really the only Sixers that I think are in play today are Embiid and Harden. Neither one of them in this matchup against Toronto are priorities for me, though. Embiid, he's just been on another level lately, and he's been crushing in like every matchup. I don't think this is the best spot for him, though. The Raptors do a really good job limiting the opposing team's best player. Embiid has struggled against Toronto this season in the games they've played. Not a priority for me, but Embiid's always playable. Harden's always playable. I'm not really interested in any other Sixers, though, where they're priced at. And then on the Toronto side, this Toronto team, we say it all the time, they're going to run a tight rotation. They're going to play their main guys big minutes, but this matchup against Philadelphia, I don't really like. This is going to be a really slow-paced, lower-scoring game. Siakam and Van Vliet, where they're priced at, neither one of them looks super appealing today. Jakob Poeltl is a guy that can produce when he gets minutes, but I'm really worried about the matchup against Joel Embiid. I think there's definitely some foul trouble risk for Poeltl here. But he is a guy that when he does play like 30-plus minutes, he can definitely outperform this salary. But his minutes have kind of been trending down lately, which is definitely concerning. It's just, I feel like you're kind of throwing darts with these Raptors guys. Would I be surprised to see a good game from like a Van Vliet or Siakam, or maybe Scotty Barnes has another good game? I know he had a pretty good game recently. It wouldn't be surprising to see one of these guys do well, but nothing really stands out as a priority from this Toronto team. And in general, the Raptors, this game in general, I really don't like much from. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, Utah and Boston. So Boston, they're on the second night of a back-to-back. They played Thursday night. That game is about to start up. As I'm recording this video, they played Thursday against the Celtics. It is a back-to-back, so we'll have to monitor their injury report. For now, we just kind of have to assume that everyone's going to be available. But I know Al Horford's been resting a lot of back-to-backs this season. Robert Williams did play Thursday night. I'm guessing he'll rest today. So we might see some, minutes available at center for the Celtics here, just because, they usually rest Horford on back-to-backs, and Robert Williams probably is going to rest too. So we might see like a Mike Muscala get the start, or maybe Luke Cornett starts. There could be some value to go to from the Boston front court, depending on who's available. The Stars, though, Tatum and Brown, assuming they both play, the matchup here against Utah is pretty good. Utah does play relatively fast. Their defense has not been great. I think Tatum and Brown both offer some upside here. Minutes should be pretty good as long as Utah can keep this game competitive. I don't consider either one of them priorities on this slate, but Tatum and Brown are always viable. The rest of Boston, though, Derek White, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, I don't see too much interest in these guys. Assuming that Tatum and Brown play, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Boston rest a bunch of guys here. But I think for the most part, we have to assume everyone's in, at least now. And if that's the case, there's not too much that stands out on the Celtics. Now, on the other side of this game with Utah's going to be shorthanded. No Lauri Markkanen, no Jordan Clarkson. Kelly Olynyk was a late scratch last game. He is questionable for today. We saw Talen Horton-Tucker go absolutely nuclear last game against San Antonio, put up 56 DK points, 41 real-life points. He played 30 minutes. The minutes were really spread out for Utah last game, which I think is definitely something to keep an eye on. We saw THT, even though he was going off, he only played 30 minutes. Walker Kessler was limited to 21 minutes. I think Utah's kind of just shutting it down for the season. I don't really think they care to win games right now. So I'm a little bit hesitant on these Utah guys. I know that, there's going to be a lot of usage available without Markkanen and Clarkson, and potentially without Olynyk too. But the matchup against Boston's not great. There's blowout risk here as well. The price tags don't look super appealing. THT is $7,900. Walker Kessler is $7,600. Chris Dunn should have a big role off the bench, but he feels priced about right at $5,800. I'm just not that interested in these Utah guys. Again, I think Utah right now, they're going to play 10 guys, 11 guys a night. They're going to spread out minutes, and they don't care if they win or not. I think they've pretty much given up on the season. So yeah, I don't really see too much to like on Utah here in a matchup I'm not super interested in, not one that I'm very fond of. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, the Knicks and the Cavs. So for the Cavs today, there's not a ton that I love on Cleveland here. It's not the greatest matchup against the Knicks. This is another game that I think is going to be really slow paced and lower scoring. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, they all have upside, but where they're priced at, I don't consider any of them like standout options today. I think Garland at 7,400 would definitely be my favorite. If I was going to target anyone on Cleveland, he would be the first guy that I would look to. I do want to mention that Jared Allen is questionable for this game, or he's actually doubtful. So with Jared Allen doubtful, that does give a boost to Evan Mobley, but I think at 8,600, Mobley is kind of priced where he should be. And then you'll probably see like more minutes for Karis LeVert off the bench. Lamar Stevens probably will start, but there's really not a ton of value from Cleveland. Again, I think if I was going to play anyone here, it probably would be Darius Garland. I think in terms of price tag and upside, he offers the most value for his price at 7,400. Now, on the Knicks side, we're definitely going to have to look to some Knicks today without Julius Randle. He's already been ruled out for this game, and I think he's going to be out like the rest of the regular season. So without Julius Randle, even in a tough matchup against Cleveland, Emmanuel Quickly at 8,400, I can't go to. That's just too expensive for Quickly. But Jalen Brunson at 8K, I do like quite a bit. Brunson should have a big role here without Randle. Matchup against Cleveland, I don't love, but man, like Brunson's going to have the ball in his hands a ton. Usage should be up without Randle. I think he looks like a solid mid-range play at 8K. I think Josh Hart and RJ Barrett both stand to benefit without Randle. Barrett 6,400. He is definitely someone I like in the mid-range. I know he did not do that well last game. And again, I know this matchup's not that great, but Randle's such a high usage player that taking him off the floor is just going to allow for more opportunity for guys like Barrett and Brunson, guys that will soak up usage, take shots. So I definitely am interested in Barrett here without Randle. I think Josh Hart's minutes are going to be really secure, even though he'll come off the bench. He's going to play probably 30 plus minutes. He's viable at 5,800. Quentin Grimes at 6K, I think is priced where he should be. He should get a boost here without Randle, but again, priced where he should be. I'm guessing that you just see Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson split the center minutes. I don't think they're going to play alongside each other, so really don't have a ton of interest in the centers from the Knicks. But I do want to talk about Obi Toppin as a value play. Obi Toppin should start here in place of Julius Randle. We've seen Toppin be pretty solid in the games he has started for Randle, since he's been with the Knicks. I know he started a good amount of games last season towards the end of the year, and he was pretty good in those games. Last game, he did start the second half in place of Randle. He played like the entire third quarter or close to it, but he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter, which is a little bit worrisome. But I think without Randle here, we can expect Toppin to start and play at least like 24, 25 minutes. And Toppin's not a bad permanent producer. He's a guy that can produce when he gets opportunity. So at 4K, even in a pretty gross matchup against Cleveland, I think Obi Toppin does look like a pretty good value play here. He's definitely going to be someone I do like to go to for value. But that'll do it for that game. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We still got plenty of games to go over, guys. So next game, Atlanta and Brooklyn. This should be a really good one for DFS purposes. Two teams that play relatively fast. This should be definitely a high-scoring game. We'll start off on the Brooklyn side. I think Spencer Dinwiddie and Mikal Bridges are both in pretty decent spots here. Atlanta's defense has not been great lately. I think both Bridges and Dinwiddie offer plenty of upside. Atlanta, or these two teams specifically, Atlanta and Brooklyn, they're both fighting for playoff position right now. I think Brooklyn's currently the 6th seed in the East, but not by much. So they're going to need to win games to lock up that 6th seed. I know Atlanta's right behind them in the standings. So we can expect big minutes for Bridges and Dinwiddie. I think they're both fine GBP plays. Nick Claxton's minutes have been pretty good lately, and he's a guy that we know can produce when he gets minutes. I think this matchup against Atlanta is really favorable. We've seen Atlanta be pretty bad defensively against centers this season, so I definitely like Claxton as well. I think he's a very strong play. And the rest of Brooklyn, Cam Johnson and the rest of these guys, I don't have a ton of interest in, but I definitely think that Bridges, Dinwiddie, and Claxton all look like pretty solid options. Now, the rest of the other side of this game with Atlanta, I don't really think there's anything else on Brooklyn to target. But on the other side of this game with Atlanta, it's a pretty good matchup here for Atlanta as well. I think Trae Young coming in at just 8,900 looks like a pretty solid pay-up option. This is definitely a discount on Trae. We normally don't see Trae priced below 9K. I know he had a tough outing last game against Cleveland, but that was definitely a tougher matchup for him. This is a much better spot against Brooklyn. He's had success against Brooklyn this season. This game environment should be really fantasy friendly. As we mentioned, this should be a fast-paced, high-scoring game. So I do like Trae as a GPP play, as a pay-up option. I think DeJounte Murray offers plenty of upside in this game environment as well, but I would rather go with Trae if I was going to play one of those two guys. And then I want to talk about Clint Capella. So Clint Capella, minutes are kind of always up in the air with him, but as of late, he's been playing about 28 to 30 minutes. And Brooklyn's been very vulnerable on the glass this season. They've been giving up a lot of rebounds to centers. Definitely could see this being a spot where Clint Capella gets a double-double, maybe a few blocks. I think it's 6,200. He's someone that I think is in play here in a pretty good matchup for him, one that he should be able to have success in. So those are kind of the guys I'm looking to on Atlanta. I don't really like too much else on Atlanta here. DeAndre Hunter is questionable for this game, so keep an eye on this. If DeAndre Hunter does sit, we might see Bogdan Bogdanovic start. We might see Sadiq Bey start. If one of those guys starts, Bogdan or Bey, they're definitely going to be viable value plays. They're both pretty cheap, 4,600 for Bogdan, 4,500 for Bey. But again, we don't have news on Hunter yet. We'll just kind of have to wait and see there. But that'll do it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, the Clippers and the Grizzlies. So we just saw these two teams play on Wednesday. Kawhi Leonard was out for the Clippers. He's questionable for today. We'll talk about that in a second. Memphis had a lot of guys out in that game, but all those guys are going to be back for today. We saw John Morant go off last game, played 35 minutes, so pretty much was off his minutes restriction. Had 57 Draftkings points. Obviously benefited last game with Bane being out, with Triple J being out. Tyus Jones was out last game as well. I think the matchup here, though, for Ja is still really good, and we've seen the Clippers be very vulnerable against point guards. Ever since they acquired Russell Westbrook, they've been a great matchup for point guards. So I still think the spot's pretty good for Ja. Don't know if his usage is going to be as good with so many guys coming back, but the upside's definitely there in this matchup. So I'm fine with Ja as a pay-up option today. But the rest of the Grizzlies, since Ja is back and he's playing full minutes now, that's definitely going to hurt Triple J, Bane, Brooks. Really nothing else on Memphis looks that appealing today. If I was going to play anyone here, it would be Ja. Now on the other side with the Clippers, big news to monitor for the Clippers today with Kawhi Leonard questionable for personal reasons. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. If Kawhi does play, he's obviously a viable option at 9,900. But there's other guys I'd rather pay up for today. We haven't talked about Steph Curry yet, who I like a lot in his matchup. You got Sabonis facing the Blazers. That's a great matchup. You got Ja we just talked about. You got Trae Young. There's other guys I'd rather pay up for today over Kawhi. But Kawhi is a playable GBP option if he's in. If he's out, though, there's going to be some guys that benefit. And we saw Russell Westbrook really pop off last game without Kawhi. Had his best game of the season. 36 and 10, 63 Draftkings points from Westbrook. Played 36 minutes. Clearly, without Kawhi and without Paul George, Westbrook was pretty much able to just run the offense. He was the number one guy. Took 18 shots. His numbers across the board were great. His efficiency was really good as well. His price tag's up to 8,700, so I don't think Russ would be a priority at 8,700, but clearly there's a lot of upside available for him when he's the number one option getting all the usage, and that would be the case, once again, if there is no Kawhi. So I would definitely be interested in Westbrook as a GPP play if Kawhi is out. And then I think we would get some value here. We saw Terrence Mann start last game in place of Kawhi. He played 35 minutes, was not very productive, but the minutes were there, and I think that's one positive that we can take away here is that if Kawhi's out again, we can expect pretty big minutes from Terrence Mann. So he would be an okay value at 5,100. Not a great option, but he would be playable. The rest of the Clippers, though, nothing else looks that great here. I don't see too much else I like on the Clippers besides those guys. So I think that does it for that game, guys. Let's move on to the next one, the Lakers and the Timberwolves. So for Minnesota today, I think for the most part, everyone that's has a Q tag on DraftKings is probable. So Anthony Edwards is probable. No Cat's probable. I think Kyle Anderson is probable as well. He's probable, and then I think Nasri might be probable too. Although his status probably doesn't matter much. He's questionable, but the Timberwolves are pretty much fully healthy now. They have Ant, Cat, Gobert all healthy. Kyle Anderson expected to play here as well. The matchup against the Lakers, it's not bad. The Lakers defense has been better lately. Actually been pretty good, but the Lakers still do play at a really fast pace, and I think this should be a fast-paced, high-scoring game. Both these teams like to play fast. So I think there's upside for Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns. Specifically, Karl-Anthony Towns is the guy that I like here from Minnesota. We saw Karl-Anthony Towns last game play 34 minutes. His production's been getting better and better every game, and the minutes are trending up as well. The fact that he played 34 minutes last game makes me assume he's pretty much off his minutes restriction, and we can expect him to play full minutes here. And 8,100 is pretty cheap for Cat with him playing full minutes. Before he got injured, he was a 9K player. We're definitely getting a discount on Cat right now. I think the matchup against the Lakers is pretty good. I'm guessing AD is going to guard Gobert here, so that should definitely mean Cat gets to go up probably against maybe LeBron or maybe someone else, maybe Vanderbilt. So I think Cat's in a pretty good spot. I definitely have interest in him for GBPs at 8,100. Gobert and Edwards, where they're priced at, I don't have as much interest in. And the rest of the Minnesota, I'm not super interested in, but I definitely do like Cat here, especially with his minutes trending up. And then on the Lakers side, The Lakers, they're pretty much fully healthy right now. LeBron and AD should both play here. Russell's healthy now. Reeves is healthy. I mean, there's not too much that really stands out on the Lakers. LeBron and AD both obviously offer upside, and we saw AD put up a really big game last game, even with LeBron playing. Put up 66 Draftkings points in 39 minutes. Look, AD's a guy that can pop off and put up a big game any night, but I think with LeBron back now and healthy, I definitely question the upside on AD. I just don't think he's going to consistently put up those big games every night. And then LeBron, his minutes are somewhat trending up. First 2 games he's played since he's come back from injury, he's played 30 and 31 minutes. My guess is he plays like 32, 33, maybe 34 minutes today. The price tag at 9,800 is kind of cheap for LeBron if he's going to play somewhere close to full minutes. This is a really important game for playoff seeding. Right now, both these teams are fighting for playoff position in the West. The Lakers and Timberwolves. So I think LeBron at 9,800 is okay to go to, but I'm really not interested in any other Lakers, I don't think. It is a revenge game for D'Angelo Russell if you want to play that narrative, but Russell, Reeves, the rest of these Lakers, they all feel priced where they should be. If I was going to play anyone here, it would be LeBron or AD, but I definitely wouldn't consider them like top pay-up options. There's other guys I would for sure rather pay up for today. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, the Rockets and the Pistons. So for the Rockets today, they find themselves in a pretty good spot here against Detroit. Detroit's been a pretty bad defensive team this season. I think it's a really good matchup for Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green. Şengün's in a pretty good spot as well. We do have some injury news to monitor here with KJ Martin questionable, so we'll have to keep an eye on this. If KJ Martin is out, not exactly sure who would start in his place. They could start like Tari Eason and just go with like Tari Eason as a 3, or they could start like Josh Christopher. Maybe they start someone else, but I think for the most part we have to expect one of those guys probably to start here if Tari Eason is out, or lost my train of thought, if KJ Martin is out. So keep an eye on that. If KJ Martin does sit here, I would assume probably Tari Eason starts or something like that, maybe someone else. There would be value to go to, with Eason being 5,100. Obviously, matchups really good as well. But then the rest of Houston, KJ Martin or Kevin Porter Jr., Şengün, Jalen Green. Again, really good matchup for these guys, so I'm definitely interested in some of these Houston options. KPJ at 7,700 against Detroit, who's been a great matchup for point guards this season. I think is in a really good spot here. I definitely have interest in KPJ. I think this matchup's one that he can definitely thrive in, and his minutes have been really good. Like, even with Houston not having much to play for, I mean, they played Kevin Porter Jr. 40 minutes last game, so I think Kevin Porter Jr. is firmly in play. I think Şengün's in a pretty good spot at 7K. We saw him get up to 33 minutes last game. His minutes have been pretty good in the games that Houston has been able to keep competitive, so I think Şengün looks pretty solid here. And I think Jalen Green's a fine option as well at 6,900. I would rather go to KPJ. I'd rather go to Şengün, but Green's playable. He obviously has upside, and the matchup's great. And the rest of Houston, I don't have a ton of interest in, but we want to keep an eye on this KJ Martin news, because if he is out, I think you would get maybe some value with a guy like Tari Eason. Tari Eason, great permanent producer. Minutes would obviously go up if there is no KJ Martin. Now on the Detroit side, it's a really good matchup here for Detroit, but I don't see too much I'm really liking on this team just because they are. They've been shorthanded lately. We don't really know yet who's going to be available for Detroit. I assume Bojan Bogdanovic doesn't play, but right now we don't have any update on his status. Don't have any update on like Rodney McGruder, some of these other guys for Detroit. Jaden Ivey has had a really big role lately, and this matchup is really good. So if I was going to play anyone on Detroit, he would be the first guy that I would look to. We've seen Houston get killed by guards this season, and I know Ivey did okay against Houston earlier this year, 34 DK points, only 27 minutes played. His minutes have been pretty good in the games that Detroit has been keeping competitive, and I think this is a game that they should be able to keep close. So Ivey at 7,100 I think is in play. Bagley's minutes went back down last game to 23. The game before that, though, he played 36 minutes. I think the matchup's pretty good for Marvin Bagley. It's just that it is a little bit concerning that he only played 23 minutes last game. Going to be tough to tell how this Pistons team spreads out the minutes with really like nothing to play for. But I think Ivey's locked into secure minutes, which makes me like him the most. Killian Hayes is like okay, but I don't have a ton of interest in him. He is listed as questionable for this game, so keep an eye on this, or at least DraftKings has him listed as questionable. So I guess if he were to get ruled out, that would definitely make Ivey look even better. But yeah, I don't see a ton on Detroit. I'm loving here, even in a really good matchup. I think my favorite play on the Pistons is probably Jaden Ivey. I don't see too much else I like on here. So let's move on to the next game. Still got 3 more games to go over. So San Antonio and Golden State. really good spot here for these Golden State guys going up against the Spurs. Great matchup. Spurs play fast. They don't play a ton of defense either. So I think Steph Curry is in a really, really good spot here. The only thing I worry about in this game is potential blowout risk. Golden State's played a lot better at home this season. But man, like Curry's been playing huge minutes in close games lately, 36, 38 minutes. If San Antonio can somehow keep this one close, I think Curry could potentially be the highest scoring player on this slate. I think his upside is through the roof in this matchup. I made him the thumbnail for today's video, so really like Steph Curry here. I think it's a pretty good spot for Klay Thompson as well. The Spurs, again, they play fast. They don't play much defense. So this is a spot where Klay should be able to get up plenty of shots. At 6,800, he is playable. Draymond's fine at 6,500, but definitely my favorite play on Golden State is for sure Steph. I just think in the spot against the San Antonio team that, especially this season, has been really bad defensively against point guards. Really good matchup here for Steph. Now, on the other side with San Antonio, San Antonio, they're one of the many teams right now that's tanking. They don't care to win games. They're sitting a lot of guys every day. But right now, we don't have an update yet on Keldon Johnson's status. He rested last game. I'd assume he's back for today. Devin Vassell also sat out last game. I assume he's back for today. So if San Antonio has a lot of their guys back here, I really don't want to target much on San Antonio. Again, they're not a team that really has much to play for right now. They're running a pretty deep rotation. They're playing a lot of guys. So I'm just going to look to target some Golden State options here in a really good matchup. Don't see myself getting a ton of exposure to the Spurs side, though. So let's move on to the next game, Sacramento and Portland. Just saw these two teams play on Wednesday. It was a blowout. They're playing again today. For Portland, we know Damian Lillard's out for the season. They've already said they're shutting him down. Don't have any update yet on Jeremy Grant, Nurkic, Simons, Watford. I think for the most part, though, we can expect these guys to probably remain out just because Portland has nothing to play for, so I don't see any reason why they bring these guys back. So Portland's going to be shorthanded here. Last game, they actually ran a 7-man rotation. Sharp, Little, Eubanks, Kevin Knox, Walker, Thibault, and Butler were the only 7 guys that played. Arcidiacono and Cam Reddish were available last game, but they just didn't play. They were a DMP. So I don't know if Portland's going to run a 7-man rotation again. I doubt they do that, but they're going to be shorthanded here, assuming that Grant, Nurkic, Simons, Watford, all these guys are out again. If that's the case, obviously Shaedon Sharp's going to have a massive role. He's been priced up to where he should be now. He's 7,900. So I definitely think at 7,900, Sharp is not a priority, but the dude played 45 minutes last game. He played 45 out of 48 minutes. I mean, he barely sat. Like, he's just playing a ton right now. He's been playing even in blowouts. His floor is super, super high, but I definitely think at 7,900, he is priced where he should be. Not a top option for me. Now, the rest of the Blazers, I mean, there's going to be guys to go to here. Nasir Little should have a big role. His minutes were pretty good last game. He played 40 minutes, was not very productive, but he also shot 4 for 17. So as long as he can shoot a little bit better this game, I think there's plenty of upside for Little here, assuming that Portland has all these guys out again. And then we saw Kevin Knox start last game after Keon Johnson was a late scratch, and Kevin Knox played pretty well, put up 30 Draftkings points in 39 minutes. He played a ton. He's only 5K, so I think he would be in play for value here, assuming that he starts again. And then guys like Drew Eubanks, I think, are okay. But Eubanks, he was kind of splitting the center minutes last game with John Butler. So if they're going to split the center minutes between Butler and Eubanks, I think that does kind of cap the upside on Eubanks. The rest of the Blazers, though, like Walker, Thibault, Reddish, even if he plays, I don't know. He might play here. I don't have a ton of interest in anyone else on Portland, but I definitely think like Little, specifically Kevin Knox as well. Didn't think I'd be playing Kevin Knox in DFS, but here we are. I think Kevin Knox looks like a pretty good value if he starts again. Now on the Sacramento side, great matchup here for Sacramento. We obviously have to worry about blowout risk in this game. There's definitely a ton of blowout risk, but if Portland can somehow keep it competitive, I think Sabonis and Fox both offer a ton of upside in this matchup. Sabonis had a pretty good first half. Didn't play a ton, though, in the second half. Only played 26 minutes, but still put up 38 Draftkings points in just 26 minutes. I think Sabonis looks like a pretty solid pay-up option here. If he's able, or if Portland's able to keep this game close, I think Sabonis offers a really big ceiling. And then De'Aaron Fox, I think, offers a really big ceiling as well. You need Portland to keep this game close. So maybe if you're playing some Portland guys, maybe you run it back with someone on Sacramento. I don't think you have to do that, but in the chance that this game is competitive for once, in the chance that Portland does actually keep it close, Fox and Sabonis both offer a ton of upside, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them has a really, really big game here. But clearly, both of them were disappointing last game because they only played 26 minutes. They just they didn't really have to push those guys. They won by 40 points. I don't really see much else on Sacramento I'd want to go to, though. If I was going to play anyone here, it would definitely be either Sabonis or Fox. Now, last game of the night, Denver and Phoenix. So we'll start off on the Phoenix side. Phoenix is pretty much fully healthy now. KD's healthy. They got Booker, Paul, Ayton all healthy. And you look at the Phoenix pricing, really see a ton that I love here. Devin Booker, even with Durant healthy, has still been pretty good. But at 9,600, he is definitely priced where he should be, priced correctly. I think his upside at this price tag playing with Durant is definitely, not as high. And then Durant, in his return from injury last game, played just 29 minutes. He had 32 DK points. His price tag is definitely down to 9K. Like 9K is pretty cheap for Kevin Durant, but how many minutes does he play here? I don't really know. I think they're going to be somewhat cautious with him heading into the postseason. So we might only get like 30, 32 minutes from Durant. Whereas like if he was playing full minutes, I would like him a lot. But at 9K, you kind of need him to play. I think you want him to play full minutes to be worth this price tag. So I don't see a ton of action really anyone on Phoenix here. Paul and Ayton were their priced at. Neither one of them really stand out. And then on the other side with Denver, Denver, so they're on the back-to-back. They played, or they're going to play Thursday night against the Pelicans, but we don't really have any update yet on Jokic. I'm recording this video on Thursday night before that game starts. Jokic was questionable Thursday. We don't know yet if he's playing. If Jokic plays Thursday, he's probably going to rest this game. If Jokic rests Thursday, then he's probably going to play this game. So just keep an eye on it. If Jokic does play Thursday and rest here, then there's going to be a lot to like on Denver, because if Jokic does rest here, Jamal Murray's going to have a really big role. Aaron Gordon's going to have a really big role. Michael Porter Jr. probably gets a little bit of a boost as well, but I definitely think the biggest guys, the two guys that would benefit most would be Murray and Gordon. So if Jokic is out, I really like Murray and I really like Gordon. I don't think I'd want to go to like the Denver centers, so like DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Naji. I don't think I'd want to play these guys, but I definitely would like Murray and Gordon. If Jokic is in, then I really don't like much on Denver overall. I think Jokic as a pay-up option is always viable, but this doesn't feel like a slate where I would really prioritize him. I think I would rather go to like Steph, who's in a great matchup. We talked about Trae Young, John Morant, those guys. Sabonis is in a great spot if Portland can keep the game close. But we know Jokic can put up a huge game any night. We know if the game's competitive, he's going to play big minutes. But on this slate, definitely not a priority for me. And the rest of Denver, I'm really not interested in if Jokic is available. So that'll do it, guys, for this 13-game Friday night slate. It was a big one. I know this was a longer video, but hopefully this video did help. I appreciate you guys watching. As always, hit that like button if you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Go check out PrizePicks as well, sponsor of the video. You guys can sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code NOAH. When you sign up, you'll get your first deposit matched up to $100 when you sign up with my promo code. But that's all that I got for this video, guys. Wish you the best of luck on the slate. Hope you guys enjoy your Friday night, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.